Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the November Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Thank you to the guests that are here. Appreciate you taking the time to join us, and for those viewing at home. We'll start with, on the agenda, number 2, approval of the agenda. I believe it was sent out in advance to everyone electronically. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review the meeting packet, agenda, and minutes. Would look for action on today's agenda.
I make the motion, we accept them.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 on our agenda. If you remember, we didn't have an October meeting, so we're reviewing the September 12th meeting minutes. Again, those were sent out in the packet. Would look for comments, recommendations, or approval of the minutes.
I approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the meeting minutes from our September 12th meeting. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 4, the October 2016 activity report. Again, this was included in our packet, outlined programming and utilization of the park, civic center updates, and other notes from administration. This is the time for any comments, questions, or follow-up on the October activity report. All right, hearing none, that report will be filed with our meeting minutes. Item number 5, City Council meeting recap. There were a series of meetings since our last Park and Rec Commission meeting. I'll turn it over to Director Schmitz to provide any highlights and an overview for the commission.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. There were 4 City Council meetings over the past 2 months. September 20th Council meeting had them declare some items surplus, no longer necessary for department operations. They also approved the plans and specifications, ordered advertisement for bids, set bid opening date, and authorized staff to receive and open bids for the Johnson Park and Field restroom improvement and maintenance building projects. They also approved the 2017 preliminary budget, and they accepted the donations you recommended they accept. October 4th, nothing directly related to Park and Rec. October 18, they awarded the Johnson Park and Field restroom and maintenance building project. They also authorized the Big Jump project, bicycling network grant application, and authorized purchasing a replacement pickup truck and snowplow. Finally, the November 1st City Council meeting saw the first reading of the 2017 proposed fee schedule. That covers the City Council action related to us over the past 2 months.
Okay, any questions or comments for Director Schmitz regarding the City Council meetings? Okay, yeah, Commissioner Proctor.
The Johnson Park Field restoration, the restrooms and that. I know a part of Renew was doing some things at the park, but this was outside of this. This was in our budget originally, as I understand it. The other projects will be incorporated on top of that. Am I right?
Correct, yes. The restroom improvement and storage building projects have been in the plans for a few years and budgeted this year. The contractor is moving forward, and we anticipate completion over the winter and hopefully thoroughly done in the springtime. Renew is above and beyond that. Renew includes grandstand improvements and on accessibility and safety, and roof repairs, backstop repairs, and a new concession stand. We're hoping to fund with the Renew dollars.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Good question, thank you. Any other questions or comments related to the City Council meeting recap? Okay, hearing none. Move on to old business. Nice segue into Renew update. So, one, thank you all for your contributions. If you remember back, roughly 24 months ago, the activity and discussion started here with the Park and Rec Commission. And with the support generated at the Park and Rec Commission, we forwarded a recommendation to the City Council to consider putting together basically the Renew framework. So thank you for your guidance and support and involvement all along the way. People have asked, well, there's only one more step, right? And I shared, well, there's actually more steps to this process. So where we kind of find ourselves right now with this process to extend the local option sales tax, a significant step forward was the support of the local community on November 8th. So I'm assuming everyone has seen the result, you know that, but to have 70% support across the community is, I think, a strong message to share not only with our city council of how much the community supports the projects that were selected, but also in the future to our state legislature. So we will kind of be going back to city council and city leaders to be asking for their support to move this forward to the state legislature, and hopefully they'll be interested in that. But remember, there were pros and cons of extending the sales tax earlier in 2017-18 rather than waiting until 2020 or 2021 to begin the projects. And that was a discussion that was held at the city council, and I think they'll be revisiting here shortly, deciding which path to take, early or waiting a couple years on the extension. So if you have thoughts or recommendations on that process, that will be important. So that'll go back to the city. From there, it would, if they would so choose, it would go up to the state legislature for consideration in its next session, which begins, I believe, January 3rd. And if it goes there, we would again need strong community and city support to make sure the state legislature and governor know how important these projects are to our community and our region. Then the next obvious step would be constructing the projects or the renovations, right? Creating all of those great projects and facilities. And then I think also something to not lose focus on, how do we realize the potential of these projects? Just because we would build new stuff, new buildings, new structures in our community doesn't mean we'd fully realize the potential. And I think that would take, again, our entire community to come together in the region to make sure they would be put to good use. So I'll pause there, look for questions or discussion on Renew.
I would have a question if we'd have any insight as to how does the city council, I know the city council will move on it, but how does it move, in what form does it take to move it forward to the legislature? And then I was also wondering, how would we provide support to, how would we citizens provide support? Would there be some kind of an organized procedure? I know that's two questions. The first one was, is there some kind of document? I suppose there's a document of some sort that moves it forward.
The answer is yes. It goes into the city attorney's office to draft the proposed legislation with the help of the staff at the House and Senate. And then it is then we ask our representatives, the elected representatives, representative and the senator, to introduce the bill
Okay.
into the House and into the Senate, and hope that it's passed and then signed by the governor. But basically, then it's the city attorney who's going to be drafting that bill.
Okay.
And the answer to the other question is, I believe that we're going to be getting on buses and going up to St. Paul when there's hearings on these respective bills, and to show support, and also anytime any one of us has an opportunity in another venue to meet with Senator Doms or meet with Representative Torkelson, just make sure you take the time to remind them that this passed by 70%, that there was strong support from a very conservative electorate for this type of work, and I think that's probably the most important. Those other details all just fall in place, but we just have to make sure that we continue to lobby for this good work.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I would have a question. Toby, you had indicated that the city council would make the determination as to when it would move to the legislature? It wouldn't necessarily have to go in 17, it could go in 18? Is there a reason why we would want to, we wanted it to happen as part of this election because in case it failed, we would have another opportunity before it expired. Is there a reason
But-
that we'd want to push it, that it does get done sooner than later? Or are
I
we
think-
okay?
I think, our reasoning rationale, as I remember our discussion, was kind of twofold of why we were interested in 2016. One is it would give us two opportunities on a general election ballot. And the second is we were interested in having those projects done 2 years sooner and not wait until 2020 or 2021 if we could have the benefit of those projects in our community, like for baseball and other things, that time is of the essence. And I think for the city council, much of their discussion, Councilor Webster and others, the pros and cons of going earlier means that we would be redirecting our future sales tax toward the new projects rather than toward the existing projects, and that excess is then held in a reserve fund. Versus waiting, we could build up those reserves even more than what they are today. So that's not an easy decision to make for our city councilors on today. Maybe we'll be at 2 million or 3 million in that reserve fund. Do you build it up to 4 or 5? Do you leave it at 2 to 3 and redirect those sales tax for new bonding that could accelerate and speed up the process for the new projects that would be supported from a Renew standpoint? I think we were acknowledging here the last time we discussed, we thought there's a risk of higher interest rates if we wait 3 or 4 more years. There would be a risk of higher construction costs, and those are trade-offs with a lower reserve fund for the Civic Center and the portion of the senior center that was constructed through the last Renew or sales tax.
Do we have to do some promotion of that to the council, though, or do we just let them make the decision? Do we make a recommendation as Park and Rec or not?
So I'd look to the rest of the commission. In our first recommendation to the council, it was to pursue the early extension and redirect the sales tax and a new bonding package and work on these projects in 2017 and 18.
Okay,
That was in our initial, but if the
And I
commission...
don't think anything has changed.
okay.
I mean, I think the most difficult thing is the things that are unknown. I mean, we know that we have re-elected officials who have more or less made the commitment to help shepherd this bill through the legislature. So now that they've both been re-elected, we know that we've still got that. We have some estimates, but the big unknown is interest rates. That's the big unknown. You don't know what interest rates are going to be 2 years from now. In a lot of ways, you don't know what interest rates are going to be when you issue those bonds in June or July or whatever. But
And what we've been experiencing, at least the day job, is the interest rates are one thing, but the construction costs are going up so considerable that interest rate might be the lesser of the two areas of risk if we're going to see 5 to 6% annual inflation on project costs.
So, but I don't think the message from this board to the city council that this board wants to move forward has been lost or forgotten or will be set aside. But if on the other hand you see one of your city councilors at coffee or any place else, you might remind them why this board made the recommendation to move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments on Renew?
Chair and members, one thing I might also add is that upon, gaining legislative approval, the design process begins. And the design process could take 12 to 24 months. Some of these projects are very complex. So the actual construction and spade in the ground, so to speak, can't take place until design is complete and bids have been let and specifications, all that sort of stuff.
And that'll be another opportunity for, people to step forward and be involved. I'm fairly certain that the city council will take the same approach, which is to sort of divide up the city council members into different committees and then have committees that will work on the design of each little individual project. We'll be looking for citizen input on that. was a lot of fun last time.
I'm not
No,
sure how you
well,
said that.
it'll be fun next time too. Whoever's involved, they'll have, it's interesting.
Oh, okay.
Build something new like that.
Okay, any more comments? If not, we'll move on. Thank you. New business items for this evening. Item number 7 on our agenda were the donations that were received. There's an action form included in your packet. Director Schmitz, comments on this?
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. I recommend that you forward this on to the City Council for their acceptance. I'll read into the record the donations offered to the city, including $100 cash from the New Ulm Chamber of Commerce and $150 cash from Happy Joe's Restaurant, both for Herman 5K sponsorships. And then the Day of Play sponsorship, $350 cash from the Community Giving Team at 3M. Then at the Pollinator Park, there are 2 park benches that are being offered to the city. One of those is from Wayne Miller, and the other bench is from Steve Nydecker and Gary and Levon Squire. Benches at the Pollinator Park.
Lovely.
Finally, for Kiesling House and Park Historical Program Supplies and Equipment, $10,000 cash from Ms. Barbara Harrelson. So the grand total is $10,500 in cash donations, and then, of course, the 2 park benches. I do recommend you forward this on to the City Council.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I would have a question on the Kiesling House. Is that not for the physical maintenance of the structure, but entirely for program supplies and equipment?
Yes,
that
it
what I
is. That's
understand that?
correct. Through Kathleen Backer and her Living History Interpretive Group that is now occupying the Kiesling House. We have other funds budgeted and for facade restoration and some of the exterior work that needs to take place at the building. So this donation is for programming, props, and supplies and equipment.
And I would just note, I went to several of the programs at the Kiesling House, and it was really, for a startup, I think they've really done a good job. So I'm really happy to see that they've got this additional support. I mean, they involved young children to be out there making soap or washing, washing things, or it was just really, really well done. It was a lot of fun. So it'll be nice to see they've got that support.
Great, thanks for the question. Okay, so we have a motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 8, under new business, Highland Park MLC Athletic Complex parking. Director Schmitz, and there was a action sheet in the packet as well.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. This is just to go on record to let the commission know that staff is reviewing the parking possibilities and opportunities in that 5th North Corridor. It did go to the City Council in the past through the Safety Commission, and the Council tabled it and sent it back to staff for further review. And staff is visiting with the Soccer Association and Martin Luther College, along with other entities, on the parking situation near Highland Park and the MLC Athletic Complex there on 5th North Street. So during busy times, it's mainly the soccer complex, owned and operated by the college, utilized by the high school and the Soccer Association and others, including Park and Rec. So when there's a lot of soccer activity going on up there, there's a lot of people and vehicles and a little bit of commotion. So one concept was there's concern of kids and people running and walking across 5th North there between Lee and Fender. And so one thought was to eliminate parking on the north side of 5th North so that children and people won't be running from the north side to the south side. But just to let you know that this is still being studied, and hopefully over the course of the winter, some sort of a plan or recommendation will come forth from staff and ultimately to the City Council. You can see in the packet, there's the Safety Commission recommendation that went to the City Council on September 6th about what I just mentioned, to prohibit parking on the north side of the street. And then a map, if that came through on your computer of the site. So any questions? No action necessary. I just wanted to formally report to you the status that's being studied related to this issue in this area.
Director Schmitz, on the one of the Safety Commission action sheets, it said the cost could be $200,000 or more. Do you know if that is for a gravel base or paved, or maybe don't know the
I'm
detail
not
of that?
positive on that, but I would estimate that would be completed and paved. You know, this is that sliver of a triangular piece of land that the city owns between Highland Park and the lift station to the far west, south of Fifth North, and north of the college property.
And,
Okay.
have you had, Mr. Smith, I know everyone's busy, but have you had an opportunity to meet with the Soccer Association yet?
No, we haven't.
Oh.
No.
I think one of the problems that at least I had for city council, I no longer have any nephews that are playing soccer, so I'm not familiar with what's going on there. I mean, I understand that there is a problem, but you know, the solution just really didn't seem to, you know, jump right up. So rather than just, you know, punt, I think we decided to table it until we can really try to figure out how to make sure that things are safe and people feel good about going up there. And
Yeah. A
uses.
few years ago, people were parking in that grass area, that large triangular area. And then mud was getting transferred from the tires into the streets and storm sewer in the river, so we had to stop that when we put the barricades into the curb cuts. And then the Soccer Association donated the funds for that small gravel parking lot to the western edge of the property. The city designed it, and the Soccer Association funded it. And it was constructed by a local contractor, but again, that's a very small gravel parking lot, insufficient during busy times up there at the athletic complex. And we can't let people just park on the grass there because of the mud getting into the river problem. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have this issue coming back for some sort of resolution this winter prior to soccer startup in the spring.
Okay, any more discussion? Excuse me.
Next on our agenda.
I'll
We're gonna have to take over. No.
Yeah.
Is number 9, Adopt a Dog Park.
Yes, Chair Fryer and Commissioners, we have a wonderful volunteer organization that is stepping forward and desires to adopt the dog park. The organization's name is Happy Tales, and you have in the packet their agreement, draft agreement, and then some of the Adopt a Park protocols and procedures. And I would recommend that we call up their leader, Jennifer Banal, to speak to us briefly. Thank you, Jennifer. Name for the record and address.
Jennifer Banal, 1437 11th Street North, New Ulm.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. The Adopt a Park application has been submitted, and the park name, as Tom said, is called Happy Tales New Ulm Dog Park. The main purpose of the group is to help with making improvements to it, maintaining it, and raising funds for the improvements. The group is inclusive, and all are welcome to be a part of it. We have a Facebook group that anybody is welcome to join us, and we keep all of our events and activities at the park listed on that page. We have a fundraising event on December 3rd at Runnings, where we'll be accepting donations for pictures with Santa, with your children, your pets, or both. Some of the other things that are going on at the park right now are trees. We have one of 4 currently in the park, 3 more coming, and we have a light project where we have 2 large light poles up, and we're just waiting on the lights. We've got a pretty dedicated group of users. I don't know of many parks in town where you have a group of people that pretty much go every single day, you know, no matter what the weather is. And so it's exciting for us to have lights coming, since obviously after work, most of the time it's very dark down there. And just all working together to try to make it a good place for the people that use the park and the pets. Any questions?
And just, you said you had a dedicated group of volunteers, young people, old people?
It's really kind of a cross-section of society. I mean, there's dog lovers of really, you know, all ages and types, and I think it ranges from, you know, we don't necessarily want, you know, young children coming with their dogs. It's not safe. But there's teenagers up to seniors, so it's pretty, and you know, most people are all willing to do what they can to help. So, and if you know, you meet some people that stop through when they're coming through town, and we're just trying to figure out ways to make improvements and raise funds for future improvements.
Great. Great.
Any other questions?
Well,
Well,
I had a question. Does this have to be, I noticed this is a form, does this have to be approved by the city attorney or the city council? The city attorney has.
My understanding is not, that this is a commission and staff approval program.
Good.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I think great example of how our park and rec system can be further enhanced through strong community support. So we do have a action form here to accept the recommendation to approve a agreement with Happy Tales New Ulm Dog Park Group to adopt the dog park.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 10, putting green. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. Again, this is just to put the commission formally on record that the Putting Green Incorporated has approached me and desires to have discussions over the next few months, or as long as it takes, about more partnerships and more involvement, I guess, on the property with the city, by the city. As you know, according to the action form, that Putting Green has been around since '01. Operates an environmental learning center, community gardens, and other elements on the property that is owned by the city. They have a long-term lease at no cost, which you have in your packet. They own and operate the facilities and the programming on site. And I'm going to recommend that we put together a work session to engage them and bring them in. They would like to come in and meet with the commission and staff sometime over the next couple of months to begin dialogue on potential new arrangements, so to speak, at that property. So if you agree to that, I would state simply a motion to ask myself and staff to organize a work session to meet with Putting Green to further discuss what the future may entail.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and second to receive the information as presented. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 11, Herman Heights Park Grants. Again, there was an action form included. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. It's coming to the point that the city's going to have to consider making some decisions on the future development and restoration of Herman Monument and future development at Herman Heights Park. Both the master plan implementation and the restoration of the monument are expected to take significant dollars. The entire monument needs restoration except for the statue at the top, Herman statue at the top. State and federal grants may be available, but they often come with strings attached, so to speak. A commitment to offer control of some sort to the state and federal government, wherever the grant comes from. We have accepted 2 grants in the not-too-distant past, and the 20-year control stipulations are due to expire in 2020. I think it's the end of 2020. So it's something to think about, and I will be presenting more information to you in the upcoming months over the course of the winter, I imagine, on the various grant possibilities that are out there, and kind of the sequence that we might consider putting into process or asking the council to put in process as far as planning and funding development of the park and restoration of the monument. So, I just needed to go on record for you to start to think about whether we should keep total control or most of the control here and utilize local funds for all this work, or move forward with the possibility of accepting grants from the state and federal government and then re-entering into these usually 20-year agreements on various control elements of the property.
If you would just remind us what, where the sort of the push points were, where perhaps we wanted to put up a 30-foot fence and they only let us put a 10-foot fence up, or would you just remind us where we were, sort of limited in any way about how we wanted to use that park under the current grants?
Yes, the Minnesota Historical Society and the State Historic Preservation Office feel that they have control over the entire property and the view shed, the viewscape, the vista of the property. The city is more of the opinion that these grants were accepted only on the monument itself and only control restoration or changes to the monument itself. So there's been some discussion and maybe disagreement in the past about the fence that was erected around the monument. There was even discussion about the playground replacement and how the state felt they have, more say or more control over an element like that on the property. We know that the Kasota stone, limestone retaining walls along Center Street need repair, restoration, or removal. And that again will be a significant discussion with the state on changing the historical viewscape of the property.
Director Schmitz, how much do you have an estimate of how much the 2 grants were going back since year 2000 or whenever the funding occurred?
Yeah, I think, Chair Fryer and Commissioners, it wasn't, I think it was probably in the $1 million range between the 2 grants. It wasn't $10 million or anything like that. It was,
And how were those funds used?
one was for, I think, restoration of the statue, and the other was for some cosmetic repairs to the base of the monument. Some of that stucco, gunite repair and painting and so on.
So to pick the statue up, take it off its base, bring it down, and fix the copper. And-
Yes.
Yeah, and make sure it was still holding up.
Yeah, my understanding were there were 2 grants. One was for the statue and the other was for some cosmetic repairs to the base and the metal columns.
Did the confusion, if it can be called confusion or contention as to who controls what, arise because the documentation wasn't clear or wasn't clearly understood in the past?
I'm not certain about an answer to that question. You know, the city attorney and the city administration is of the opinion that that the grants were accepted for the monument and that there's some control that was given to the State Historic Preservation Office in accepting those grants here, but not so much the site and the park. I know that the Herman Monument Society has funded an arch to put over a gate on the monument fence. And we have been told by the state that that's not appropriate, or that they would not allow that to happen under the terms of their understanding. So, again, just wanted to put you on notice that we'll be looking at this more closely over the next few months, and sending a recommendation to the city council about how to begin to put together a plan for development, redevelopment, and restoration of the monument and the park up there. Keeping in mind that accepting grants, helps pay for the projects, but also turns over some control of potentially the site and the elements that the grants were accepted to be used for.
So examples like this may be where the phrase "strings attached" was born, maybe?
Strings attached.
Chains? Okay. Okay, so there's an action sheet to again receive this information, and these,
So moved.
okay, we have a motion
Support.
and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Right. Thank you, Director Schmitz. On to our last item of new business, 2017 budget. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. You've had the 2017 preliminary budget for some time now, and I have received no significant comments about changes or suggested changes to it from the Commission. And so if you're so inclined, you may take action at this meeting to formally recommend to the City Council that they adopt the 2017 preliminary budget.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend, and we have a second to recommend the City Council adopt as final the 2017 preliminary budget. Any more discussion, questions, or comments on the 2017 budget?
Just remind us what the largest item is, which is the Miller Park upgrades. Just remind us what that is again.
Yes, some of the upgrades that we're recommending for Miller Park include roof structure or shade structure for the grandstand, improvements, safety improvements to the dugouts. Those are the two key elements, and then some repairs to the scoreboard also I'm aware of.
And then the second item is a complete replacement of the playground in German Park, right?
Yes, that is our next playground replacement recommendation, carrying over money from this year's budget and taking some money from next year's budget to completely replace the German Park playground.
Okay.
Those are the two big projects, yes.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to our reports. Included in the packet on the agenda were project updates from Director Schmitz. Director Schmitz, anything to highlight or
No, I don't think so,
Good
Chair
here.
Fryer and Commissioners, unless there's a question or a comment on any of these projects that have been completed or are in progress. The big news is that the Johnson Restroom Improvement Project is moving forward and the contractor is beginning demolition. Also, the safety and accessibility improvements at Harmon Park are underway with a local contractor to put pavement under and around the bleachers at all 3 backstops, and an accessible trail from the shelter out to field number 3. Yes. We've also had some fencing improvements over the past month or so. Nell's Park, which was funded by private donations, South Park backstop, and a safety fence down at the Riverside Park Playground to try to keep the kinder from migrating down to the river.
Okay.
And perhaps, since we have scouts in our audience, we should also note the Eagle Scout project by Kelby Stalker, the dog park obstacles and shade. Is that in or planned?
That's
or
complete.
yeah,
That's
okay.
complete, yes. Thank you very much to Eagle Scout candidate Kelby Stalker.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Schmitz. Commissioner reports. So I would add to that a recognition of the scouts that are here. Thank you for attending this afternoon's meeting and your service and volunteerism in the community. Lucky I didn't have to test your first aid when I was choking up here. And nobody was running out of their seat, but thank you, Commissioner Webster, for saving me. All right. But we appreciate your service in the community. Any other reports? So it sounds like we'll be looking for a work session in the next 60 days, particular to probably some of the new developments for the Park and Rec Commission, so be watching for that. Have another scheduled meeting on December 12th. Any other business for today? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.